Today, I would like to talk about the idea that the body is nothing, as in the body is just a vessel. And I would also like to look at some of the problems which occur when people do identify as their body, when they in fact claim that the body is something, and the body is themselves. I'll also look at the physical realm in general and how people identify with that as well to define themselves. I'll conclude that all these things only bring death and destruction and pain and suffering onto the world, and how you can make your life better and the world a better place is to realize that you are in fact a being of spirit. You're a being of consciousness. Your body is nothing. Absolutely nothing. From the point of view of time, it's strange to me that people identify as their body. It's strange because people pick an arbitrary point in time to say, this is me. This is my body. But in fact, to be fair, your body changes so much throughout your entire life. You're an infant, a small child, a teenager, a young adult, an old adult, an elderly person. All these are your body, yet you identify your body as a constant thing. Most people seem to pick, a part in life where their body looked good, and they try to hang on to this. They try to hang on to that part through various means. Because again, that's all they have. That's what they see is important in life. They see that I'm going to hang on to this thing which is nothing. This thing which dies. No matter what. No matter what. I always had the biggest problem in looking at old age. When I would start to do a thing, and then I would look and say, well, where am I going to be in 40 years from now, 60 or 70, doing this thing? What's that going to look like? Well, that's going to be miserable for a lot of things, like take work, for example. Let's see, where will I be in 40 years at the same job? Well, I'm going to be doing something similar, and only I'm going to be old. And I'm going to have all these problems with my body. I'm not going to be attractive at all, and things like that. That all seems pretty miserable. Like it seems like some kind of a sick cosmic joke that this would happen to the body. But I would, of course, argue that this is a final reminder from God to say you are not your body. Old age is a final reminder from God to let you know you are not your body. This thing, if you were still up until now clinging on to this physical thing to identify yourself, well, it's going to literally start falling off of your bones. And you're going to see it wither away while you are still alive. Are you that thing? Are you sure about that? Because your actions tell me that you're identifying as that thing, the body. You want to say you're a race or a gender. Races and genders are of the body. Okay, so we can start with race. That one's easy. Completely arbitrary how race is decided. So skin color, there's a big deciding factor. So the most obvious thing that you can see when you look at someone, you say that's what matters. Wow, That's really have to dig deep for that one, huh? And then you're going to say, well, also where you're, where you're from geographically. So those are kind of the two things which make up race. But you don't want to go too far back on the ancestry tree, right? Because if you do, then we're all African, as a matter of fact. So we've just picked, we're going to go back an arbitrary point in time and say, well, this person, is of these other descendants, so that's meaningful in some way. This person's skin color, which is also coincidentally the most obvious thing you could see about a person, is meaningful in some way. But again, these are all constructs of the body, that which is not real. So you're identifying, if you identify with a race, you're identifying yourself as with the body as with nothing. And you see yourself as nothing, and moreover, you see others as nothing, as the body. So when people carry on with this, there's a couple of problems. The one thing is people see the afterlife is this life. So they see in the afterlife you will exist as this body, only there'll be clouds and robes. I don't know. Obviously, there's no evidence whatsoever to support that. There's not even like a rational argument that you can give that would actually make sense to say, oh, okay, that's how you got to that, right? But white is how they got to it is white is associated with cleanliness. If you're trying to keep your things clean. Anyway, it's ridiculous. So what does the afterlife look like? What do you look like in the afterlife? Well, obviously you're outside of your body. And I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. I'm not going to sit here and claim to know what it looks like. You would exist as a fifth dimensional being. Why? Well, you're existing above time. You're existing for all time. So you must exist above time. So time is a fourth dimension. I'm going to have to conclude that you would exist in at least a fifth dimension. What does a fifth dimensional being look like? I don't know. If you're interested in kind of breaking that down a bit further, I would suggest my video, God is Unknowable. It'll be linked in the description and at the end of this video. So, people see themselves as their body so much that they see themselves in the afterlife as this body. They can't even break out of it, that there could possibly be another thing that they would exist as, another form, or formless, or multiple forms. But no, people, of course, see themselves as their body, their race, their gender. They identify themselves as that thing, and then they identify others as that thing. But that thing that you're identifying as is ultimately death, right? The body returns to a skeleton and to dust. That's nothing. So you are identifying with that which is nothing. And that's the problem. So then the next problem that arises with identifying with nothing is identifying with our things. We don't stop it, the body. That's at least a biological organism. No, that's not nothing enough. For us, we then take that a step further and say our things define us. Our clothes, our car, our house, these are who we are. And these are who others are as well. So if you don't have, these things, well, then you're a homeless bum and you're worthless, right? In this world. And that's a problem. So the first objection is, am I saying don't have things? No. I'd be a hypocrite for doing this. I'm sitting in a house right now. I'm wearing clothes, obviously. things are fine. Certainly have things. However, realize that those things do not identify you at all. And certainly they don't identify others. Just because a person has more things than you should not be thinking of them as a better person in some way. They are not. Or conversely, you should not be thinking of yourself as a worse person or a lowlier person just because a person has more things. Now, there are some other things that you could look at, such as a person with a lot of things could just be intelligent and a hard worker, lucky, right place, right time, sort of situation going on. However, just the owning of stuff is unimportant. And I can't really change the way too many people think. So what I have done is applied this thinking for myself, in that am I my things? Am I just trying to look at, is my car aged and old and beat up? Well, does that mean I'm lesser in some way? Is my house not very nice and I need to somehow get a nicer house? No, I don't. And in identifying and looking at this and realizing that given enough time, all these things are nothing, I've been able to become very happy with what I do have. Do I still buy stuff? Sure. However, it is not me. I am not these things. They are simply tools. I buy a thing to perform a function. I don't need a function. I don't buy the thing. I certainly don't buy things to identify myself, because when I do so, I am identifying with that which becomes ground to nothing. Sure, buy a nice new car. Go out and have a good time. But realize that car is not you. The car is not a reflection on if you are a good or a bad person, or worthy or unworthy of God's praise. But that's what it seems like everybody is doing in the world. If you look at their actions and not their words. So their words are, if you look at religions, for example, religions will say the body's a vessel, which is effectively what I'm saying when I say the body is nothing. Yet you look at the actions, take America, for example. We are a largely religious country. Yet, we have all these problems with race and gender, because we're identifying with the body. We're saying, I'm a white male, I'm a black male. These things are different. But what we're not saying is, look, you're a being of consciousness. I'm a being of consciousness. These bodies, which our consciousness are housed in, are nothing but vessels. They don't matter. So if they're different, if they don't matter, and they're just vessels, if they're different, what does that matter? It doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. Your body is nothing. Your race is nothing. Your gender is nothing. And what does that mean? That means we can now all come together and respect one another, like we are not doing currently. Because we're saying that I identify with this thing. So if my body looks good, for example, and your body doesn't look very good, and I identify with this thing, and I identify with you as your body, I can now come to the conclusion that you are a lesser person. Do you see where this goes? And and that just keeps going on and on and on. You could do that for race or gender or socioeconomic status, again, back to the things, person with more things, they're obviously better in some way, right? Well, let's see. They surrounded themselves with that which returns to dust. Are they better? Maybe. I don't know. The things tell you nothing. They are nothing. A person's vessel tells you nothing about who they are as an individual. Are they a good person or are they a bad person? You will never know for certain if all you know is their body. So you may have had someone or multiple people preach to you the body is a vessel. I would ask, though, are you practicing it? Were they practicing it? Is anyone practicing this? In America, I don't see this happening very much. Very little, almost none. The idea that the body is a vessel, okay, well, the body's a vessel, but when I die, I'm still going to look the same, right? So this body does identify me in some way. See, that's the problem. That's the problem. Because you are identifying with that which is only the vessel, that which returns to dust. And that's what brings the hatred and jealousy and suffering and pain and misery onto the planet. The identification with that which is death, because you see yourself as nothing when you identify with the body or your things. And then the real problem is you identify others as nothing. You already see yourself as nothing, and then you see others as nothing, as their body. And now all sorts of bad things are possible, such as rape, murder, genocide. You must see people as nothing in order to commit these atrocities. So it's time to examine that which we are identifying with. Is it the body and our things? Or is it your soul, your spirit, your consciousness? That which is higher, that which is eternal. When you look at others, do you see them as just their body? Or do you see them as something more? I think of you as so much more than just your body. Whether you're fat or skinny or tall or short, or what color your skin is, or your gender or gender identity, none of that. These are all ideas of the body. However, you are your consciousness. You are your spirit. You are your soul. You are so much more than this vessel. And you're certainly so much more than your things. Your things which are less than nothing. Sure, have things. Yeah, definitely. That's not a big deal. Get some more things. Whatever. Understand they don't identify you. When the things become destructive is when you can't see past them. When you can only see that the things are what matters. When you put things over people. Right, so in the Bible, in the New Testament, it's going to say if your hand is a problem or committing you to sin, cut it off and cast it aside rather than burn in the fires of hell or something like that. But anyway, the point is, I hope the takeaway from that is not self-mutilation. But I think this is an apt description would be, in this case, all your stuff, that could be your hand, quote unquote. And, so if your stuff is causing you to not be able to see the spiritual realm, if you cannot see past it, then it's time to cast it aside, for you have an addiction to the stuff. And that's when it's time to get rid of the stuff. All right, but to what? To have a house to shelter you from the elements? Are you a bad person? No. To have clothes to look nice? I mean, really? I mean, is this a problem? No. But just realize all you're doing is affecting the vessel, that which is not important. So once we can see past the vessel and inanimate objects, we can start to see that we are all so much more, and we can start respecting one another. That which is not right to happen right now, certainly in America, where people only see themselves as their bodies, or even less as their things, and that's all that seems to matter to people. And we hate each other, and we fight with one another about these things. So this is how we can put an end to this. This is how you can certainly put an end to this. Start feeling better about yourself today by looking at no longer identifying with the body and no longer identifying with your things, that which is nothing, that which, given enough time, is dust. Is that you? Are you your skeleton? No, nobody's out there identifying that they're their skeleton, yet that's what their body is going to turn into. They're saying, I'm my body at an arbitrary point in time. This defines me. That which is nothing.